Good day to you, friends. Ayubowan, Vanakkam, Assalamu alaikum. We have with us today Mr. Suranga Athakorale, the CEO of Onimta Information, an IT company. Welcome, Suranga. Thank you for taking the time to have a discussion with us to enlighten our viewers about Avankalanka.
Thank you very much, Lasantha, for giving me this opportunity. Before we continue our discussion, I would like to know about yourself. Who are you?
Yeah, I have mentioned this to our viewers earlier also. I am Lasantha Mendis, age 50, father of 3 adult children, micro finance specialist by profession.
Okay, so career-wise, what have you been doing?
Yeah, I have been in both in banking and latterly in microfinance for the past 1.5 decades.
So Lasantha, now you being a professional in this industry, I had an opportunity to go through your website called that www.avankalanka.org. What is the meaning of this Avankalanka?
Yeah, Avankalanka is very simply put Sri Lanka with integrity.
So do you think that there are people, the real honest people, people with integrity? Can we find people?
That's a good question. A lot of people ask me this. Yes, my answer is yes. There are people of integrity, there are honest people, but they are very silent.
Are you an honest person?
Of course, yes, I am honest, I am accountable, I am responsible, because otherwise I won't be able to embark on a journey like this.
If I ask like this, is this some kind of cover or banner that you are trying to use just to promote yourself or just to implement some kind of hidden agenda which you are carrying?
No, not at all. As I said, I am 50 and I have seen that our country is going from bad to worse, where values, discipline, all those areas. So my journey has been to champion social change through integrity and good values.
Now I have seen while these major political parties, political movements doing their work together, doing their day-to-day things, time to time there are people like you, like Mushroom, they are coming, they are showing their face and we can't find them. Okay, so will you be another Mushroom guy who is trying to do a change in this nation?
That's a good observation, Suranga. But my answer is no. I have come to stay. I have made a very public statement to all my friends and relatives, those who have been near and dear to me, that why I have come forward. And I believe why people come and they fizzle off is because they carry somebody else's agenda. In my case, there is no hidden agenda other than what I told you.
So what you're saying is no one behind you?
No. There is no body behind me. There is no political organization behind me. There is nothing like that.
So what is your pure intention doing this Avankalanka organization?
Yeah, my intention is, if you see, why are people leaving this country and migrating to other countries? Why are our young people not returning after they go to university? Why are our young people trying to clamoring to go abroad? After all, this is such a lovely country. Why they are doing so is because there is a fault in the system here. That is why they are doing so.
Lasantha, when did you start this movement?
It's just under a year.
Who is helping you to run this organization?
No, there is nobody helping me as such. We are, there are a couple of people who work with me who are all volunteers. We raise our money, by showcasing our projects on social media. And I must say that, all the projects that we have showcased and promoted have all been funded on time.
When I'm going through your website, I have seen that you are doing some work in North region.
Yes.
So what kind of project that you are doing with the people in the North?
Yeah, The north, we have adopted a village, a small, very poor village in Vatukotte South.
How many families are there?
39 families. And our whole intention there is to show the solidarity of the southern people to the people in the north by building up this village with pure southern support. Why I say this is, Suranga, because the people in the north sadly don't believe what is said in the south, and they truly, when I say that, I'm telling you this very seriously, they have lost all confidence, faith and hope in the southern people, right? I'm talking of the majority, and I think it is our duty, as educated southerners, educated people who love this country, to bridge that gap. And that's the whole intention of us working in Jaffna.
You being a Sinhala person, so why are you helping these Tamil people?
No, as I said, I don't call myself a Sinhalese, I call myself a Sri Lankan. And for me, it is only change of geography. Sri Lankans in the north, they have gone through immense hardship during the past 4 decades. 3 decades during the war, and more than a decade now. Okay, now it's very much better. But still, so much to be done in the north. So much. And we are just like a drop in the ocean of what we are trying to do. But I still believe that is needed. And the whole concept is that once we do this and finish this, building this village with basic facilities from purely with southern support, that more southerners will be encouraged to replicate this program. And that way, there will be a lot of faith and hope built, and this bridge will be built.
Lasantha, you being working with Tamil communities in North region, what about their worldview? How do they describe people in the South?
They, to be very blunt, they don't think that people in the South actually really think about them. They are not much bothered about the elections, because what they feel is whoever who comes, it's no big deal, nothing much will come out of it.
What about the youth in that area? What are they really doing?
Actually, I am only exposed to just 2 villages here, and I must say that youth are not that great, they are not skilled, and most of them are unemployed. And I think I mentioned this in a previous clip. The saddest part is that they have no vision. They have no vision, they have no ambition. And I would really appeal to all my diaspora friends, think about this, think about this, because this is going to be a huge problem in the future. And in fact, we conducted about 2-3 weeks ago orientation, a more of a motivational program for the youth, and the response was not that very good.
Lasantha, what are the investment opportunities in that particular area, the North region?
There are so many investment opportunities, because if you know North, there had been a lot of industries in the North, and I think the people who are looking for labor, there is so much of labor available in the North, so there are opportunities. There is a BUI there is an IDB there, but unfortunately many people, not many people in the South have gone, so I think that is where we need to really change, by getting some of these southern big boys, to go and open, because then, there'll be, once they start working in a organization run by the South, they will understand the mentality, how they treat people, and this bridge, we can build this bridge. So there is a lot of investment opportunities, but I also hear that there are some investment, bottlenecks, but those all these things can be worked out, since we have a very dynamic president. I'm sure we can work those things out, but what we need is the will, to decide, okay, let's go there and do something, because if you take, only the widow population, there is 60,000 plus widows, 60,000 plus women-headed households in the north, so, you must understand, what about those children? Are they going to live in poverty for, years to come? So, unless we take that burden on, as Sri Lankans, to, go there and be a part of it, I don't think, this, we will have true reconciliation.
Now, I know our country is a democratic country, we practice the democracy. We have given enough opportunity our Tamil people to elect their own leaders for the last few sessions, parliament sessions, that we have seen that a lot of Tamil leaders came. So what you're saying is, have they failed? They couldn't deliver what the Tamil people expected?
No, not really. Not really. I won't say they have failed. But the thing is, Suranga, when a Tamil leader comes and he speaks of his, constituency's grievances, people tend to feel that that's his job, right? But, we know that the budgets given to some of those ministries are very, very low. But just imagine of a situation where you and I from the south, constantly talk about this, constantly are, agitating for this, see the impact we could create, and we could change the mindset of our people, our lawmakers here, to look at the north more seriously. That's what we are trying to do.
I had the opportunity to visit Jaffna almost 1.5 years ago. I travel by road. The road network is really good. So do you think it's going to be an advantage the southern people to go there and do their businesses and investment?
Of course. The roads are fantastic. When I went first in 2004 and today, it's two different worlds where the roads are concerned. And even transport-wise, we have these AC overnight buses, we have the AC trains. So I don't think commuting to Jaffna is no longer an issue. No, I don't think anybody can make that an excuse not to go.
What about the other utilities, the mobile connectivity and electricity? Are those services available?
Yeah, all those are available. Connectivity, internet, even if you see hotels, good accommodation. You have jet wing and good accommodation.
What you're saying is all the infrastructure is in place. It's a matter of us to go there and find opportunities.
Yes, that's right. I think that is where we need to now focus in getting some of our big boys, to go and open there, and get started. But I know that people like MAS, Brandis, they have gone to Kilinochchi and those areas. But that has to be much more, because as I said, there's a labor force, and everybody knows that traditionally the Jaffna people have been hardworking, and anyway Sri Lankans are hardworking when they are put into a system. So I believe that won't be a problem, and that is where I think we have kind of missed an opportunity. When I say we people in the south, to make an impact in the north.
Lasant, one of the reasons that I want to come and talk to you, that you have given us the public invitation, anyone who wants to know about your movement and come and talk to you. Now, with this COVID, the post-COVID situation, the biggest problem, the biggest challenge that we are having is the people, they are unable to pay their loans. They are really stuck. Do you have a solution for the people who are unable to pay their loans?
Yeah, let me put it in another way. Actually, there is a solution for people, to have access to credit through the cooperative system. The cooperative system has been in Sri Lanka for over a century, and it's a very effective system.
So this cooperative system is a Sampakari. I can remember even my younger days. I used to go with that Muddara, and we just this is another the boutique, no. So how this boutique
Yeah, now
system
when,
going to help?
you're quite right, Suranga. When we talk of the the cooperative of the Sampakare, we always think of that old cooperative shop, near our house. But actually now since of late, of course, we have the co-op cities and all that. Unfortunately, that's the picture we have. But if you take the cooperative movement, is a different scenario. Now one example is, if you see, you go to any village, you see this board called Sanasa. So Sanasa means Sampakara Naya Samiti. Now the Sanasa movement, which is, I think, they are the Sanasa, those societies, cooperative thrift and credit societies, are at least in about 10,000 villages, right? Actually, those little societies gave birth to the Sanasa Development Bank, right? Which is today called SDB, right? So that alone bears testament as to the power, of the cooperative movement. Why I am talking about cooperatives is, if you take cooperative simply, maybe about 12 people can of a similar trade can form a cooperative, right? So you put in, whatever capital you want, and then you have very structured regular savings.
So when you say regular, that is there any particular constitution? Any?
Yeah, there is all that is available. So you follow the specimen.
Is there any act for this thing?
Yes, there is a cooperative act, a very good act. I'll come to that in a minute. So we put in the capital, we put in the savings regularly, and then we create this fund, and from this fund we start giving out loans. So that's typical cooperative activity, right? The difference is the cooperative act is a very powerful act where defaulters are concerned, right? It is probably the only act where the cooperative department, after they do an inquiry, they file action against the defaulter.
Okay.
And unlike in a civil matter where cases are argued, here the judgment is made basically ordering the defaulter to pay up. And if they don't pay up, they are put into prison. And even after they return from prison, you still can demand repayment.
What you're saying is there is no trial.
There is no trial. Secondly, there is no pardon.
Okay.
Because even after his prison or her prison sentence, you have to pay back, right? Which is, in my book, ironclad system, right? So if we can get all small business people to form cooperatives supervised by the cooperative department, and get the banks to fund these cooperatives, right? These cooperative societies, the banks can have the cushion of the cooperative system's ironclad recovery mechanism.
So instead of using this cooperative vessel, why bank can't directly help people?
No, the thing is, we must understand that banks have their own regulations imposed both by central bank and also international standards like Basel and all that, where they can't expose themselves too much to this unsecured sector, right? Because they have to maintain certain capital adequacy ratios and all that. But if they make use of this system, where although they are giving unsecured to the cooperative system, the cooperative itself has an inbuilt recovery system, in the law. So by that they can cushion their risk.
So what you're saying is cooperative is responsible to the bank and the individuals are responsible to the cooperative.
Cooperative. Yes,
That's the mechanism.
Yes, and actually the individuals are the cooperative.
Okay, right.
You know, so it's a unique scenario,
Okay.
right? Now this is kind of alien to us, you know, because of this system, you know, that we have this mindset that the cooperative is, you know, a old system or whatever.
Right.
But if you take, you know, developed countries, especially Europe, you know, cooperatives are very powerful, and cooperative, you know, own banks there, you know, whereas this is unheard here, right? Other than in the Sarasa scenario. So even recently the president, you know, had made a statement saying, you know, Samurdhi authority should get into microfinance. And I in fact wrote to the president, you know, saying to make use of this cooperative system, because the Samurdhi authority does not have an ironclad recovery system like what is inbuilt in the Cooperative Act. So if we can get the cooperatives, the central bank, the commercial banks, both private and government, and the Samurdhi authority to come together, along with experts from the microfinance industry, you know, I'm sure we can come up with a very good, sustainable funding model for the both micros, MSMEs, and even SMEs. You know, at a time where these organizations, these little entities are suffering, because during COVID, most of them expended their working capital.
Looking at you, you just like the typical politicians. Why are you wearing this uniform?
Yeah, that's exactly my point, Suranga. Because people feel that this national dress is now the politician's uniform, you know, for them to go to parliament, you know. But I think that is a misconception which we need to change, you know, because I'm sure you have gone to Thailand and you see how many people, you know, especially on Mondays, they dress in yellow, you know, and show the solidarity to the king. You know, same way, you know, when we should be very proud, you know, of the national dress, and I have made this my working attire, you know, and whenever people ask me this question, I always say, you know, the national dress doesn't belong to the politician, parliament doesn't belong to the politician, this country doesn't belong to the politician, you know. We are the sovereignty of the people, of the country. The people are the sovereignty. But unfortunately, we all feel that the politicians own this country and they are allowed to run the way they want.
So even in your private occasions, you wear this uniform?
Yes, whenever I have to, when I am required to, we'll say, go smart casual,
Okay.
you know, then I wear this.
Okay.
Of course, if it's casual, no, I don't, you know, but if it is a smart casual, I always wear this.
What about when you are working with the northern people? Are you wearing the same thing?
No. When I go to Jaffna, of course, I am in my denims and t-shirt and my hat, you know, because this is not very conducive to, you know, work on the field. But other than that, you know, this is basically my office attire.
Now, once you change your attire like this, what about your family responses? How did they adopt with this new setting?
No, they, I think, are quite used to this, because I have been wearing sarong for a long time. You know, the colored sarongs, you know, for a long time. So it's just that from colored I have come to white. You know, not much of a difference.
So coming back to your avankalanka.org, your movement, how can we help you if anyone really wants to know about you, know about your vision, and how we can engage with your mission that you are doing in this nation?
Yeah, basically it's simple. Like you coming, you know, we invite people to come and question, you know, as to why we do what we do. Secondly, we have started a couple of projects, you know, with the prisoners, you know, rehabilitation of prisoners, then Love Jaffna, then working with the farmers, working with the plantations is something in the pipeline. Um, Rehabilitating sex workers, something in the pipeline. So there are these projects. As you know, Avankalanka is not an organization, it's more of an organism where people have to take ownership and people champion. We don't encourage, people to come and give us advice and, just sit, on a side. We want them to come, join us, either come and support us in what we are doing, or come with a new idea. If somebody comes with something about the environment, we'll be more than happy to support. Somebody comes with, to stand against child abuse, or abuse of women, because we are limited in what we can do right now. But definitely we will support and stand with anybody who comes. But as you know, the pre-qualification is Avanka. You can't have any hidden agenda, you can't come with somebody else's agenda. You have to come with a pure intention, and definitely we will support, we will stand, and we accommodate that kind of thing.
Vasant, what are the challenges that you are having to run your organization or take forward your movement right now?
One is for people actually to believe that this is possible, because most people have resigned to the fact that, things won't change, bribery won't change, corruption won't change, nepotism won't change, right? Then if you take the northerners, especially the diaspora feels, no, nothing will change. So the first is that mental block. We have to, from saying can't, we must say we can. Secondly, we have to have funds. To do anything you need funds. But as I said earlier, whatever projects we have wanted to do, we have accomplished without any issue, because people who follow us have been supporting us. Not in large amounts, but we have been able to do whatever we have wanted to do. We just finished, as I said earlier, a training program in Jaffna, which was funded by one of our supporters. So because some may not have the time to physically get involved, but they can definitely help us with their funds. The other thing is contacts. We need contacts. So if you are able to even support us with networking, contacts, that would be great.
Vasant, instead of funding or donating you, can we invest with you? Can the investors come and do some kind of projects with you, where they get the revenues or profit?
No, that is not possible, because then there will be a conflict. What we can give is returns by way of impact. Because accountability is what we believe in. So if you give for project A, we will make sure that project A runs, and you can get social returns.
So in other words, can corporates do their CSR work with you?
Yeah, definitely, most definitely. We really invite corporates to look at us and to come. One of the projects that we are actually embarking on, this village that we are doing in Vatukotte, is they have a huge problem with water, drinking water. So we have to invest in a RO plant, which is a reverse osmosis plant, to get them clean water. And any corporate who is looking at water as their CSR focus, is most welcome to join us. Excuse me. And what we give in return is value for money.
Okay, Lasantha, thank you very much for clarifying all my questions. I hope to see you again.
Yes, thank you, Suranga, for making the time to come and discuss. And I believe you are now enlightened a little more about Avankalanka, To all our viewers, thank you very much for watching us today. Please subscribe by pressing the subscribe button if you have not subscribed thus far. Please follow us on our website www.avankalanka.org. As I always say, we can, Sri Lanka can, and the silent people, the people who are silent, who are of integrity, they have to arise, and I believe this is the time. So, thank you very much. Have a pleasant day. Ayubowan, Vanakkam, Assalamu alaikum.
Ayubowan, all the best, Asantha.
Thank you, Suranka.